Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final ace match of WeMade Fox versus SKT1. Yes, we have made it to the ace match in this Pro League match, and really, it's really crunch time for a lot of these Pro League teams. Everyone really wants to get into the top 6 for playoffs, and SKT1 has been doing extremely well. Last week, I think they went 2-0. WeMade Fox, not so much, but I'm really hoping for SKT1 to jump from 9th to at least 6th to get a place in the playoffs. So yeah, both teams have put out Terran players. We have Fantasy on the right from SKT1 and Mind on the left, another Terran player. Mind did win against S2 and Fantasy did lose against Kiki earlier in this series. Hopefully you did watch those before. It wouldn't make really much sense for you to watch the ace match and not the other ones. But anyway, so it's Mind versus Fantasy. Mind is 29-22 against Terran. He's 56% against Terran. Fantasy is 55% against Terran. Those statistics don't really tell you much. I mean, the numbers. I haven't really watched too many of Mind or Fantasy's games to be able to tell how they really are. Let's just get the colors. Fantasy is green, and Mind is teal. This isn't gonna be very good for oh, there's a color change. This might be better. Now Fantasy I think is tan. Alright, Fantasy is tan and Mind is red. Alright. Hopefully this will help us remember. Anyway, Fantasy, I really haven't watched many of their games, but the one TVT that I did watch of Fantasy's, he was playing against Flash, and, Flash, and Flash basically wiped the floor with Fantasy. So that's the impression I get from Fantasy's Terran v Terran. He may be a creative player, especially against Zerg, but his Terran v Terran isn't exactly the strongest in the world. I'm not sure about Mind either. I don't know enough about him. He is quite an experienced player. I think he won an MSL a while back, a year ago, maybe. So yeah, both players are probably going to go mirror builds for most of this map. This map is Chupung Ryeong. I think it means new autumn wind something. Chupung Ryeong is a 2-player map. They'll be able to scout each other out relatively early, so I really doubt anything like a proxy rack, something. Nothing crazy is going to happen. Besides, this is a ace match. But both players are careful to check that there are no proxies anyway, because Chupung Ryeong is actually quite infamous for proxies. Maybe that's why neither of the players will choose to go for that, because it's just been done so often that it's almost not a surprise anymore. So anyway, I believe this is the first person VOD of both players. It's quite difficult to tell what they're doing. They look like they're going Barracks Refinery 12. It's pretty standard for Terran players. Although one of them is walling off. I think Mind is walling off. I'm not sure. It's kind of difficult to tell from here. But we might be seeing some interesting play here. We'll see what tech route he decides to go. He just built a tiny unfinished supply depot there just to block any scouts from coming in. Meanwhile, Fantasy, I guess, doesn't find it necessary to wall off. And is that a proxy factory we see? I guess it's a proxy factory in the top left corner. Mind has placed a proxy factory. Meanwhile, Fantasy has placed a factory in his base. Now, the reason why Mind is walling off is so that Fantasy can't send in a scout and see that there is no factory. But look at this. Fantasy is searching. Oh, that's a shame. He searches all the way there, but not quite. He doesn't search all the way for a proxy factory. That is going to be quite interesting. Mind will probably produce a vulture or two and really... And here we have another proxy factory from Fantasy himself. We're gonna see a lot of proxying here. So I take that back about what I said, playing standard. I guess sometimes you can't play standard, you know? Sometimes you really have to surprise your opponent in order to get anything done. And really this is quite a surprise. There is a machine shop on Mind's factory. I guess he might be researching speed, he might be researching mines. I'm not sure how Terran v Terrans exactly work. I do know that they're very long and usually involve dropships. Although recently I have been seeing a lot of Terran v Terrans with vultures. Usually it's only Nada who does that, but in these games, in a lot of recent Terran v Terran games, people have been going pure vultures. I think I saw a Firebat Hero one with that. In the meantime, Fantasy does want to. He's trying to scout. He knows something is up if there's a wall there blocking. And Fantasy and Mind's SCV's high five, and Fantasy sees that proxy factory. Mind does not look happy about that. And strangely enough, it's a tank. A tank has rolled out. Usually when you have proxies, I think you usually have like harass units, like vultures, but it was a tank. This is kind of like a double bluff, I guess. Tanks are quite useful against vultures. With backup, of course. You don't want to just be mined out of existence. Mind doesn't want to be mined out. And there's a bunker being built. This is so strange. I'm guessing that Mind will be looking to expand. 4 vultures though, 4 vultures against that one tank. That tank is going to get surrounded. That bunker does not come up in time. Mind is in a lot of trouble right now. Those vultures are going to take the and then a siege tank is coming up from behind to reinforce, but that tank is going to go down, and I'm not sure if mines are going to get researched anytime soon. You know, tanks are pretty hardy. I thought that tank would go down even faster. That tank is doing a lot of damage, but the problem is those units that it's taking out, vultures and marines, really aren't worth anything. They aren't worth gas, and tanks are just gas guzzlers, as evidenced by our economy nowadays. But those, like, Terran v Terran games, in Terran v Terran games, you really need that gas. You can't lose your tanks. You can lose vultures. Vultures are not so important, but well, technically you shouldn't lose any units at all, but we'll forgive these players for that. Anyway, so Mind seems to have gone for a lot of marines. This is kind of strange. I'm guessing he knows that those vultures are about to go up and try to break his ramp, but those marines will take care of it. Those marines won't really have a problem. Meanwhile, Fantasy is getting those vultures and Goliaths. That combination that Terran v Terrans that are so common to Terran v Terrans, Fantasy will probably go for dropships soon. You really need mobility, especially since this is actually Chupung Ryeong. There are a lot of cliffs and a lot of just ups and downs, and once you establish a position, which is so common to Terran v Terrans, those tank lines with turrets or Goliaths supporting them, once you get that established, it's really hard to break unless you have dropships, unless you have mobility. And here we're going to see a little battle in the center, but I think Mine needs to back off. Mine really needs to back off. He won't be able to do enough with these 2 tanks and those 5 marines, but those marines need to take fire for those tanks unless that tank goes down, and it doesn't. That was a nice save by Mind, a really nice save. I wonder if he had lifted off his factory, actually, and moved it somewhere else. And I just noticed that there was an engineering bay hanging out in Fantasy's base. That's interesting. Maybe it was a proxy engineering bay. You know, engineering bays kind of look like frogs. Yeah. But anyway, I didn't notice this, but Mine's bunker is still up. And with his marines in that bunker, he's actually going to do quite well, although he loses that tank to SCVs, just SCVs.